Beena, are you here?
Yes,
We're
I'm
live.
here.
We're live. We're live. We're
Okay.
live.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Hello, Syl. And
Hello,
hello.
Beena. Hello, Beena.
Hello, Grain. Hopefully, Grain is also here. This meeting
Yes,
is going to
Grain
be
is.
recorded by Syl and by Grain. Hello and
Yeah,
welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And whoever is going to watch it recorded, this is something very interesting because we got so many views on, at least more than more views than live. Which is really
yeah,
good because I truly appreciate that. If you guys are liking it and watching it, please do leave a comment also because it is interactive. Of course, we got so
yeah,
much value. We always get so much value whenever you guys interact with us. Okay, by
yeah, yeah,
messages,
yeah,
comments, questions, whatever your input, your takeaways is always important and precious to us. Thought of the day. This is again very interesting as usual for me, not necessary for other people. But before coming here, we were busy doing again some mundane stuff, and it was fun. But also, I was learning that how the communication is a haphazard business because
mm,
when someone on phone saying something and you are assuming that you have received it correctly, but mostly this is not the case, especially when it is about to be precise, exactly same thing, like some figures or names.
mm,
And when Sil was saying that, he was pronouncing it right, of course, and he was saying it right because he was reading. And at my end, because those words were new for me, like some new names or numbers, what I was hearing, according to me, was absolutely correct,
yeah,
but it was not.
mm,
But
assumptions,
not. And
habitual assumptions, right?
yes, yes. And that, according to me, 100% exact and accurate and correct was not the case. And that was the
Mm,
moment I realized that how many times we, according to us,
yeah,
accurate, precise, right, especially right,
yeah, yeah,
but reality, not all the time. So we
yeah,
always need to have, as a person who wants to be impeccable or on the path or on the way of impeccability, we need to always keep a margin. And that margin was something Sil was sharing
yeah,
a few days ago about allowance to be wrong, or allow, like
absolutely.
having that
It's
space to
critical.
be wrong. And not only
Yes,
just having a space, but actually having a bit of excitement about this. That, okay, yes,
yes,
what if I
yes,
could be wrong? Then what? So then when we get excited, of course, our mind
yeah,
get like, okay, our body release a different type of hormone, and then we have a different type of chemical reaction in our mind, and then it produce neural pathways. We find
yeah,
ways which might not be accessible in our normal state of being like calm and
yeah,
relaxed.
yeah,
Excitement has its own benefit, and being excited about something actually gives you all caps more, because
yes,
then you
yes,
jump out of the box like, okay, yes, according to me and according to the data I have right now, I am 100% correct, right, blah 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 blah. But what if I would be wrong? And then your mind get creative and like, okay, if I would
exactly,
be wrong, then what it could be. Then we go out
exactly.
because of this assumption. We can leverage this
Yeah,
assumption of being
yeah,
right and precise by like, oh wow, if I could be wrong, then what? Then it means that, okay, it would
yeah,
be beyond my imagination, beyond my understanding. Then we go out of
yeah,
box and we get creative. So in
yeah,
just one tiny brief moment, we get so much out of it. At least I got so much out of it. And I was like, wow,
yeah,
again, jumping outside the box and thinking it like really wild thing. What if I would be wrong? Then still might be not reading it right. Okay, that was the first thing, like duh, but still
yeah,
says, no, Beena, this is what it is. And then if I would have that, if I would be wrong, then okay, my hearing is not precise. No, okay, it is okay. And then my maybe I was not paying attention. Okay, if I would was not paying attention fully and purely, then I need to learn some skills to divide my attention appropriately
yeah,
in different tasks, because I was typing things, I was listening to him, I was eating something, and I was looking at something else. This is how we learned attention management, not only
Yeah.
time management, but also
Yeah.
attention management, which is of course again coming back to the energy management. So it just a simple thing can give you so much more. And I was
Right.
getting so much more out of
Right.
it.
Right.
It is so
Right.
wonderful and so amazing.
And
Thank
there's
you so
more.
much, Syl, again for that. Yes,
There's
of
even
course,
more to
always.
it. There's
Yes,
always
never.
more.
Yes.
And the moreness here is in this, that this excitement about being wrong. Why? Why be excited about being wrong? It is to open the possibility, of course, so you don't have the certainty that locks us into things, right? Beena had that certainty and it locked her. So if we're always open, it's not that we're opening doubt. We are just removing that fixation with the desire for certainty. And the moreness of this is that we end up in a situation where we start to shake the foundations of the certainty of our perception of reality. It's not fixed the way we think it is.
Yes.
Reality is fluid. We fix it with our fixations, and our fixations are with certainty is here. Janet said good morning, but this was, oh, she's here today. Brilliant. And Norma.
Oh, yes.
Fantastic. Hello, Norma. Hello,
Hello,
Norma.
Janet.
Hello, Janet. Fantastic. Fantastic. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. This is too excellent. Wonderful, wonderful. All right, so that's all done. All right, good. Now we can really focus and concentrate. Oh, sorry, 1 second. All right. So this is very important, right? This understanding that this openness to being wrong, it is not that we want to be wrong, but that we are making an opening, a space for us to not have the certainty and to perceive our reality only in the same way all the time. Reality is not what we think it is. The more you start to go on the path of understanding and awareness, the more we realize this, right? And we realize that our reality is shaped by our perceptions, and it is especially shaped by our certainties. Yes, and we have expectations, but those expectations are so deep and deep rooted that they are certainties. They're not even expectations, because typically if you have an expectation, there's some leeway for it to not be so, right? In the usual understanding of expectations, right? Like if you expect to get a promotion, well, it might not happen, and you sort of understand this, and it's part of the expectation. But when it comes to reality and how the world works, we have certainties. We are so fixed in believing that this is exactly how things are, that we are not open to them not being so. And when they aren't the way we are certain it's going to be, it's beyond expectation. When it's not that way, we do not see the difference. Yeah. And that's a huge deal. That is a huge, huge, huge deal, that we don't see the difference. Now, it comes in very simple ways. If you're expecting somebody to be behaving according to superiority paradigm, just to give an example that I see on a regular basis, right? So you're expecting the person to be playing competitive games and pushing their ego and to do things for self-promotion reasons, etc.
Sorry
But
to
then they
interrupt you,
come.
but do you
Go
see
ahead.
that on a regular basis? Do you
Yeah.
experience that?
Yeah, well, yeah, I see it on the internet, just on how people
Oh,
relate to things on the internet, right?
oh,
So, yeah,
okay.
Facebook
I
every
was
day
assuming
it's
that.
there.
Okay, yes,
Right?
yeah, okay. That you experienced that, and I'm like, wow.
I don't see it in my interactions with like on Zoom with us here and people I
Okay,
interact
okay,
with. Yeah,
okay.
no, just out in the world. But all right, so somebody is interacting and with somebody else, and they have this expectation that the other person has got the usual motivations of ego and status and all this. But then that person comes on Zoom and they do live Zooms and they just have this expectation, certainty that, well, they're doing the Zoom for the same reasons as everybody else. They want likes and they want approval and followers and blah, blah. And they cannot see that in this case, it's actually different. That the reason they're doing the Zoom has got nothing to do with likes and attention and followers and approval and status and whatever, right? They cannot see it. Even if you say it to them, they cannot see it, right? So this is the situation we're in, right? That our motivations are so different for doing Zoom, but because of that certainty that people insist on, well, but everybody does it for these reasons. It's a certainty in their world that they don't even hear, even though they're hearing the words coming at them, they don't change their perception. They just insist on this assumption and belief that it's being done for those reasons. Now, I'm not saying this because it bothers me. No, I'm just using it as an example, right? It doesn't bother me in the least. You know, I understand the mechanism, but it's powerful, right? It's very powerful. And particularly when it comes to motivations, yes, that, you know, I'm not motivated by the usual motivations. And this has caused me lots of trouble in my life because of others insisting that I am motivated by the usual, you know, superiority paradigm motivations. So often I've been kind and generous, and then they're like all suspicious about it. Like, why is he doing this? What's in it for me, for him? You know, where's the trick to this? Where's the manipulation? It's really sad when I'm just being kind and generous, you know, and sometimes excessively so. But there's no comprehension that somebody could actually be that kind for no reason whatsoever, and I'm just doing it because of attunement. So my motivations are very different. But again, see the certainty that the world works the way we think it does. And when we break this certainty, we start to look at people differently. Now, just take yourself, whoever's hearing this, right? Like in this case, Norma, Janet, Beena, I know this applies to
Yes.
all three of you. Think how often you've done things for whatever reason or stuff has been going on inside you and people have perceived it wrong, right? And you're like, no, 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 but you don't even have the chance or the opportunity to even say no, no, no. You just know, hey, yeah, you got it all wrong. This is not what's going on with me. And you know what's going on inside you is different to how people are perceiving it. Yeah. So remember that, because just as people got you wrong, you might be getting others wrong. Yeah. And this is why we need to keep that openness to being wrong, so that we shake our certainty that our opinions, our beliefs, our ideas, our expectations, our certainties are not actually that certain. They can be radically different, like in the case of Beena and I's motivations for doing the lives. They are radically different to what the usual is. Radically, they're completely opposite. They're like not even opposite, they're just like in another dimension. They come from another paradigm. Yes. Our
Yes.
entire interactions here is on the Nobelia paradigm, which has got nobility and sharing and moreness and everything that's not superiority paradigm, right? But it takes a lot to start to even imagine a different paradigm. Yeah. And this breaking of the certainty of our beliefs, our expectations is also ridiculously powerful when it comes to imagination. Yeah, both of you, all of you, that yeah, Norma, Janet, all artists, yes, and in a various different ways. But when it comes to art and creativity, our certainties can shape our imagination in a very profound way. When we start to break that certainty of certainty, then we also start to open up our imaginations even more, because that's what imagination is. It is to be aware of that which is not the usual. Yes. And when we open up that door through being wrong, which again, wrong is here in inverted commas, you know, just difference really. And we start to understand that Yes, I'm excited when I get it wrong. Why? Because now I've opened the door to capital D difference, to something new. This is most exciting. Yeah. And of course, when it comes to creativity, this is fantastic. So you're retraining the brain to think differently and be more open to moreness, because that's really what this being open to wrongness, being excited about being wrong, it's a doorway to moreness, and that's the magic of it, right? And moreness comes from shaking the certainty that we live in. Yeah, this is very, very, very powerful. And if we when we read the chapter now, even our very moreness may be questioned. Precisely, Janet. That's the magic of moreness, that there's always more. So you experience some moreness, and then you say, well, but you know what? There's always more, right? That's the saying from when Biella talks, she says, oh, and there's more. And then the group says, there's always more. They like chorus it, right? It's a little bit of a refrain, but that's absolutely critical. Precisely. I am not certain I am correct, even in moreness, precisely. It's very powerful, Janet. Very, very powerful, precisely. We never, never, ever can be sure. And this is the magic. When we aren't ever sure about even the moreness, we open the door to even more moreness. Yes? And we understand that reality is fluid. Exactly. It's fluid. It's fluid. When we look at the greatness, and this comes into the story in this chapter that we're going to go through. First of all, look at Heila's uh, uh, connectivity to both certainty and a bit of uncertainty. She is on the cusp of really shifting her life because there's a bit of uncertainty in her as to how things work. Right? Biella expands on that and opens up the door to attunement and anomalies. Anomalies are precisely the time when you are being told that the way you think things are is not so, right? So an anomaly is precisely there to say, don't be so sure, don't be certain, there's more here, right? Now, of course, if you're living according to attunement, you already understand this about certainty, and you're never ever certain about anything. It doesn't mean you go around with doubts and you're uncertain. No. What you do, the gift that you get from the universe, this you are certain about, and you do it until it changes, right? So, from a new nobility psychological point of view, everything is only as good as it lasts. This is like they're saying, right? Which means that what I believe, what I've been given via attunement, what's coming from the universe, I do it with the fullness of my being until it proves to no longer be good, no longer be something to do, and then I move to the next thing, right? So when the next thing comes along that replaces whatever I was doing, I give it up and I shift to the new thing. Yes. And it's also mentioned in this chapter, this ability of the new nobles to change on a dime, right? That's it, immediately. They don't have this hand wringing when the obvious is obvious, and they don't like and ah and should I and blah. No, they just change. That's it, because they know that you can always change from change, right? You're never locked into anything forever. You can always change from change, right? So they change right away. They don't have this huff and puff and fuss and all that. And it's very important because you give your full commitment, and then when you come to something new from attunement, because you can trust attunement implicitly, you simply shift. That's it. Very simple. But also, if we now look at the Heila's, uh, she's not that comfortable and fluid with uncertainty yet. So she realizes and she says the things that's there, but she doesn't act on them. She doesn't apply them. She hasn't changed her life. It's still more idea than it is application. And this is holding her back, right? And then we see how Biella shares about it, and she's sharing from the position of this being a life philosophy, a way of being, and this ability to shift and change and look at attunement and anomalies, etc. Right? And very powerful. And then, of course, we come to the gift of intent story, um, which is precisely about the doubt of certainty. Yes. And particularly this idea that we can have self wisdom, right? The dream of self wisdom is flawed, said the young man. And it's very powerful. So there needs to be an alternative. So when we realize that our odds of being correct are so low as to be infinitesimal when it comes to universal understanding. And because there's so much out there, what we know is nothing compared to the universe. But what we are is something compared to nothing. So we don't feel bad about things, right? We just understand this with the appropriate context. And we have humility, but we also have self-certainty and self-confidence and self-joy, right? Because we are something compared to nothing, right? But we are nothing compared to the universe. So this is very powerful. This whole point here is so much of it, and what Beena raised, that comes into this chapter. Very, very, very powerful chapter, even though it's kind of a mellow chapter in a way, but very, very powerful. Yes, we are incorrect in everything. When we start off with that position, Janet, then it's a whole different thing. Then we say, well, yeah, okay, I'm 99% incorrect, but what's the 1% that gives me value? You see, I don't lose my perspective, right? So it's not to have the certainty that people have so often that they are 100% correct. When even in simple things like me just sharing a name, and I think we're talking about Eric with a C, but it was Eric with a K. Is that what you were referring to, Beena?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah, simple
And
things, right?
sometimes when you were just reading some names and then it was coming
Yeah,
back, okay, you were saying N and I was hearing M. So many
yeah,
things.
yeah.
Uh,
But that's more of
just
an
wanna say
acoustic thing, a
again,
sound thing. Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. Just wanna say something about the excitement
Oh,
because
please.
yes, of course there is always more, and we need to have that margin of being wrong, be possibly
Yeah,
be
yeah,
wrong in our data. But the excitement when it comes from the surprise that, oh, I am certain, I'm like very sure about whatever I was listening and what I was perceiving is right. But just what it comes with the opposition of being certain about something, and then you have like, okay, yes, it is sure, but what? Then it gives you and push you just out of the norms, and then you bring like, okay, and you create something which are not obvious. Because if I would say that, okay, yes, I am not so sure, then of course I will accept that okay, this whatever is going to come from that person is going to come. But when I say that, okay, I'm sure and he's also sure, so what next? So it means that I need to be creative and create a space for the mourners to come in a more creative and unusual way. So that is for me the subtle point or the nuance you can say was there, that to when we are certain and then still deliberately we create a space for being wrong, then it is like a wonderful thing. Because yes, I know that, okay, I'm firm on my ground, I know that, okay, but still I'm doing this. So what? So then the options gets unlimited. So
And
certainty, I,
that's
I was just
something.
leveraging
And
that
the
being sure.
options
Yes,
become unlimited. Sorry, Beena, I want to just
yes,
emphasize that. And the
yes,
options
yes,
become unlimited. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I got a
So this is
ponytail today. Very, very wild ponytail. Wow,
wow. I haven't seen that.
wow. Three of them. Yeah,
Oh yes, it's like a samurai.
yeah. Yeah. Anyway, sorry,
Silent samurai.
I jumped. I ruined what you were saying. Say again the last things that you were saying. Sorry,
No,
sorry.
I was just saying that, okay, this time, especially when I was saying that, okay, yes, I'm certain. When we are almost sure about things, and still we say, okay, yes, I'm sure. I did my research. I did my. I was trying to be impeccable. I was being thorough, but still, I'm giving a space to be wrong. Like, oh, if I would
Oh,
be wrong, then what? Because when you are certain, when you are sure, and when you have done your part, and still you create that space, then it becomes a fun thing because you don't feel anything like, okay, oh yes, I was not being impeccable. Okay, yes, I was not being thorough. Then you start working on yourself. But when you are certain, when you are sure, and it's still deliberately you just keep that space for the mourners to come for, okay, yes, what if I would be wrong? Okay, then what? Then you get like really creative and the fun
exactly.
part comes in.
Exactly, exactly. And here we come to a really profound point, right? Capital S strategy, which is such an integral part of Way of Impeccability, right? It's one of the super key core conceptions that's in your dictionary of power. When you are dealing with strategy, Yes. And
Yes.
let's just take the usual understanding of strategy from a military point of view. Yes.
Hmm.
If you put yourself in a situation, you're in charge of a platoon and you're out in the field, in the bush, in the jungle, wherever, right? And you leading
Hmm.
your squad of soldiers, right? And now you've got to make a decision. Yes. And that decision, you say, okay, let's go this way, right? Because I think this will be a good way to go. And, at least there's safety, we got cover, blah, 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 or whatever. If you do not think, what if I am wrong? Hmm, yeah. You cannot set your
Yes.
strategy in case you're wrong, that you have a fallback plan. Yeah. And if you're wrong, well,
Yes.
then you're going to die. You see? So
Yes.
if you don't think this in your thinking, you don't set to say, well, okay, that way, but it's kind of a gamble. Yes, I mean, it could work out, but if I'm wrong, then we'll be caught and then we're dead. But on this path, if I'm wrong and it isn't safe, okay, it's not such a terrible thing because there's lots of cover and we'll be okay. So you start to develop strategies that when and if you are wrong, it's okay. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Hmm.
This is very important, right? And so when we bring that thinking into our strategy, and you say, well, what if I'm wrong? What's the worst that can come from it? Okay, like, well, I just got the books today. My two books. I got physical printed copies. One has been out for a long time, but also the second one. And so book titles. You say, well, what if I'm wrong? Well, okay, it might not do as well. Less people may read it. But you see, you build contingency into your thinking when you bring this idea of what if I'm wrong. It applies in so many things. It's really powerful. It's very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. Yeah. How to stay light when all around you is heavy. Next title, perhaps, somebody says. Donna. Yes, Donna. Yes. Yes. It really would be a wonderful title. Yeah. How to stay light when all around you is heavy. That's fantastic. Yeah. Add it to my file. I'll add it to my file. I take it seriously. I don't know. Donna thinks, she put a laughy face there, so maybe she's just, but I'm taking it very seriously, Donna. I don't think you're listening on Zoom, but I take it very seriously. That motivates me. That motivates me. Yeah. All right. What are we doing, Beena? Where are we? What are we doing? What are we doing? Let's get back to what we're
We are
doing.
going to continue about the chapter you read again yesterday.
All right.
So
All right.
we
Okay.
will go
Okay.
into the
Okay. So we
details.
need to come up and bring that file up, chapter 14, and we're doing the detailed reread. Yeah. 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 Uh, yes, love you, Norma. Love you. I never got to say good morning even to you earlier. I woke up and I basically, made coffee and dashed out the door. I didn't even, I couldn't get Facebook to work actually. So it was just very slow and stuck. I still can't get it to work in the one browser. I had to open it in the other browser. It was very odd. And then we had to go to the warehouse and do tagging. And I came back just 5 minutes too before the live. So it was a wild, fun morning, but it worked out good. We weren't stressed or anything, so this worked out very nicely, right, Beena? It was all good. It's all good. All right, so let's do a screen share and we go over this now. Janet and Norma, and particularly Janet, because you made some comments there about moreness. Pay attention to the certainty issue in this chapter, how it relates. Bless me, and all not present to be contaminated by my sneeze. Right? You are blessed because you're not here. Hmm. Hey, hey, no sneezing. I don't want this to come back again. No coming back of the flu. All right. So now we have a theme. We have a guidance. that this idea of certainty and being wrong, but certainty specifically, right? Because wrong has got so much baggage to it, but not being so certain of our certainty. Yes. In other words, the gift of doubt. Right? And this is a very profound story, and also it's a standalone bonus session in Way of Impeccability. But we're going to just focus on certainty, right? So here we go, chapter 14, Heila's story. Now, keep this idea of dealing with certainty and not being so certain about certainty. Just keep it in mind at all times. Just look how it applies in this first this first quote that's coming in here. Let me just adjust my screens here. Right? It's just fascinating to me. It's just absolutely fascinating. One moment. All right. Norma, you're just going to have to hang in there with your comment. Oh, you're just saying I love you too. All right, brother. Yes, I do love you, Norma. I do love you. You're a joy to love. Yes, 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 yes. All right. So now let's certainty, right? Look at the certainty. Chapter 14, Heila's story, the opening quote. Everything is geared to assisting us with our awareness. Right there. What do you mean? I'm so certain that the world is all about me being famous and wonderful and popular. And, oh, the world's not about status. It's not about superiority. Okay, well, there goes that certainty. Yeah. Everything forces us in some way to think for ourselves, to raise our awareness. What do you mean everything forces us to, in some way, to think for ourselves, to raise our awareness? I don't know about that. All right, well, I'll just stay open and I'll start looking around me. If we have a certainty that this is not so, then of course we won't see it. If we have the certainty that this is not so, that just sounds like nonsense to me. I can just see somebody saying, yeah, oh, rubbish. What do you mean everything forces us to think for ourselves? What do you mean everything forces us to think for ourselves? I mean, I get told what to do all the time. My boss tells me what to do. The government tells me what to do. Maybe it's forcing us to think for ourselves. Don't be so certain. Isn't that exactly a way to force you to think for yourself? Because your boss and your parents and your teachers and the government and the whole world and society, everything that they say to do is for the most part kind of a lot of nonsense. If you're open to it being wrong, you say, wow, I've been taught to be egotistical. I've been taught to dominate, to bully. Well, that's just wrong. Oh, so in other words, everything I've been taught is actually wrong. Wow. Yeah. See, you've been taught to think for yourself. When you are honest about things not really working all that well, then you suddenly realize that, hey, this is a prompt. This is a stimulus for you to think for yourself, right? It is super, super huge, right? And then it goes on, this quote, scriptures are excellent examples of this mechanism, containing the entire range of truths from the profound to the absurd, including contradictions and variations. Scriptures are fantastic in how they, when you break this certainty and you open to wrongness, and you open to this understanding of the magic and the gift of wrongness, in other words, the gift of doubt, to say, wow, when you start reading scriptures with this openness to being not so certain that the scriptures, everything in the scriptures is perfect, then you start to read the scriptures very differently. And then you start to see, wow, the scripture is actually a genius document for getting me to think for myself. Yeah. It's quite profound how scriptures include all these contradictions and variations and the profound and the absurd. But you need to be open to it. You need to be open to it. Otherwise, you don't see it. And people literally read and they just, their brains, when they read something that's absurd, it just skips over it and they don't notice it. Yeah. I've done this with people. I read them quotes from the Bible in where you're supposed to read a profound quote and you come up with like really something like what? And their minds are kind of blown by it. Really? That's in the Bible? Yeah. Go look it up for yourself. Right? And much of our modern translations, by the way, it edits out that absurdity because people can't handle it, right? But yet it's there. It's there. But it's there to make you think, right? It's there for you to not to be so certain about the way the world is. If we are earnest, sincere, and honest, we can only come to this point by ourselves, right? This point of understanding that everything is there to assist you in your awareness. And our awareness is especially that which has to break free from the idea of certainty. When you look at people who are kind of stuck, it's because they're certain of their awareness. They're certain they know how things work. They're certain of what they perceive. They're certain of what they understand. And that's what holds your awareness and limits it, right? I've worked with and interacted with mentally challenged people, right? Quite a lot in my life. They not necessarily worked with them, but uh, like in my business, they came and interacted. They came as customers a lot of time. Like first in the flea market, they come every Sunday, and so I got to know them quite regularly because we were there regularly, and stuff like that, right? And something and if you speak to people who work with them too, they'll tell you the same thing, that they are very rigid in their beliefs and understandings of how things work and how things are. And when it doesn't go according to how they believe it should be, then they all freak out. Right? They are excessively rigid in their perceptions of how the world works and their beliefs. It's astonishing how rigid they are, right? And no matter what you want to do, forget it. They're not going to change. No matter how absurd their belief is, that you can see from a more awareness point of view. But this is what causes them to be, well, we used to call it retarded, right? I don't know, it's politically incorrect nowadays. But that's what happens. It holds you back, and which is where this word came from. It's not the meaning negative word, it's a literal description of what's happening. Their awareness is so fixed, it's so rigid, so certain that it holds them back from seeing more. They don't develop past that point, right? And that's where the retarded thing came from. All right, mentally challenged, I don't know, for me it's less accurate, but all right, I'll use that term. But when we understand this and you really start to notice this rigidity, this absolute complete impossibility for them to be wrong in what they think, it's incredible. Now, of course, a lot of that rigidity is very self-serving. You look a little bit more carefully. You say, wow, you can come and negotiate when you've got that little bit. They give them money to spend, right? They come to the flea market and they spend money. They would barter and negotiate and try and manipulate, and they were very cunning when it came to getting a better price and a better deal for what they wanted, or sometimes even trying to get stuff for free. But when it came to being able to do work, no, sorry, I can't. Just out of the question. Right? So a lot of their certainty and rigidity was because, well, I'm being taken care of, so I've got to be this way. There's a trade-off, right? And maybe a little bit more of a cynical view, but when you understand the superiority paradigm, you realize that people can do things like this, right? And that there are many people for whom morality is a non-issue. It just does not exist in their worlds. It's all about self-servingness, right? All right. So scriptures force us to choose. Through those choices, we raise our awareness. Through those choices, we raise our awareness. Look at that little sentence there through the lens of certainty. What does certainty do? It limits our choices. When we are open to being wrong, oh, more choices, more awareness, right? Choice, awareness, synonymous, same thing. When we choose, we raise our awareness because it's a deliberate, conscious act. Yes, very powerful. But of course, when we're certain, we have less choices, right? We're deciding the world is this way and this way only. And look at those people that would come, right? The mentally challenged people. They didn't have much choices, right? They were limiting their choices because if they do have more choices, well, then they also have more responsibility. And they absolutely refuse to take that responsibility for most of them, right? They were avoiding the responsibilities of, work and being responsible. Their entire psychology was geared to the avoidance of responsibility and limiting choice. Very, very confined very certain world that they wanted in. The moment that certainty gets break, then they freak out. Right? An incredibly profound example of the mechanism I see in everything. Everything is geared towards aiding us with our awareness. Everything. Everything is thus geared towards breaking the certainty that we have that the world works the way we think it does. And that's how we get to moreness. Moreness is precisely that which we didn't think existed. Yes? That which we were certain does not exist. That's moreness. Or not available to us. We might think it exists, but not available. So this quote is really cool in the context of certainty. From understandings of the new nobility. This is too wonderful. This is too wonderful. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. All right. I hope you guys are still with us because we're in for a treat. Because Beena is going to read a bit for us. Because I need to make coffee. For a self-serving reason. Beena, can you read? Are you here? Can you read?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
All right. Yes, I can read. Just say when I need to scroll if I'm not paying attention.
From the top?
From the top. Yes. Heila. Yeah.
Heila said to herself, evidently a lot on her mind. I find your response so interesting because it's something I'm currently cultivating in my own life, though it's been hard for me to put into words the idea of whatever I'm supposed to be doing at that moment, whether it seems productive or not. There have been times where I felt I should have been doing something else, some household task or errands.
Beena.
But spontaneously decided to go bookstore instead. Yes.
Yeah. Beena. To interrupt you here real quick, right?
Yes.
So now we are reading a story, and for the most part, it's a fictional story. Yes, for the most part. I mean, it's obviously fictional
Yes.
because it's talking about Nobelia and things that we kind of certain don't exist in our regular world, but don't be too certain, right? That it doesn't exist. All right, so that's first certainty that we need to shake. Secondly, Heila is a character in the story, and we assume, we take for granted, we're pretty certain that this is something that comes out of the author's imagination. Okay. Now Heila does, yes, but the conversation, the character is one I've made up, but the conversation is a real conversation. I think this came about. I shared a post and we were chatting in the comments, and then it may have gone to like a messenger chat, right? So the conversation here between Heila and Biella is a conversation between me and a real person. I've simply put it into the context of the story. I call it enfolding. It's a very particular thing that I don't know anybody else that does it. I mean, I'm assuming somebody does do it, but I don't know for sure, but at least this is something that I do and enjoy doing and have fun doing. I call it enfolding. I enfold this real world conversation into the story, so that it takes on a moreness to it, right? But I'm making the point from a certainty point of view, right? I mean, we're just sort of certain that this is a character, but now it turns out, wait a second, that the character is one I've made up, but their conversation is real, right? So these issues that Heila is talking about, this is stuff that somebody in the real world was dealing with, right? So even though it's a fictional story, the issues are very real. And Biella's response to her is very, very real, right? This is a real response to a very real issue, right? It's not a fictional issue that's been made up. And I like doing this. Like Camillus, his whole conversation also is real, right? And it's very important to me. I really enjoy doing that because it adds that realness to the interactions and the conversations. even though the characters are now fictional and they have somewhat of a different personality, a little bit to the people in real life, at least from the context, because it changes the dimension of the perception of them. But that's also part of breaking certainty, right? The same conversation put into a different context gives us a different perception of the individual. Same conversation, yeah. So how certain can we be when we hear a conversation from somebody that our assessment of them based on our hearing of their conversation is accurate? See? Because look, we're getting an entirely different view of Heila here. Yeah. And it's very powerful. It's really, really something, It's very powerful, this whole point for certainty. But I just find too, I just wanted to bring that in, that this is a real conversation. Somebody was really, really struggling with these issues. Yeah. I find it very cool that even though it's a fictional story, this conversation is a non-fictional conversation, right? I mean, it could be a blog post, about this. Yeah? It's a non-fictional part. All right, yeah, please continue, Beena. I want to bring that in. Very cool, very cool. Oh, Beena just dropped there. Oh, okay. I shall read in a second. Let me just finish stirring my coffee here. I shall continue. I really, really like this. And, I've asked some people to participate with me. Like, I'll share some of the story, and Janet, Norma, I may do this with you at some point. But here's the key, right? That if I share something from the story, then sometimes people they write like they're writing a story. No, don't do that. Just respond like it's yourself. Respond how you would respond to me if it wasn't story, right? And then that I'll fold it into the story. Don't worry. Yeah. But that's very powerful. When I get your regular, real you reaction to what is something that I'm just sharing with you in the story, right? And I'll write that into the story. But just share from a real you point of view. This is very, very wonderful and very powerful. So, yep, on the screen share, you can see I got 4 messages and one on one. Sorry, people, you just have to wait. I can't respond to you right now. I'm doing the live. Yeah, is that Beena coming back? I think so. Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful. So keep that in mind, right? If ever you want to
Ye-
be in part of the story, don't try and write story. Just respond as
Yes,
you,
yes.
and I'll make a different character for you. Don't worry, and I'll make it fun. Yeah. Okay, Janet. I love that you were here. I love that you were here. Wonderful, Janet. This is too brilliant. So thank you. I must go to work now. All right. I just love that you were here and that you said hi and you commented and interacted. We have the gift of Norma on a regular basis, but it's nice to have other gifts also. And we never take Norma for granted either. It's always a magical thing, Norma, when we hear. I always like to hear from you also. All right, please keep going, Beena. Maybe just start again. Yeah. Beena, are you muted? What happened? No, you're not muted. Where'd you go, Beena? All right, I'll read, and then when you come back, you just carry on when you come back. Heila set herself, evidently a lot on her mind. Oh, wait,
Just now. No,
go
you're
ahead,
not
go ahead.
sharing screen. And okay, now it is. Sorry, sir.
Mm,
My internet is disrupted, and just now when
that's all
my internet dropped, I saw news that it is going to continue for most likely for next 90 days.
Oh, wow.
This is not.
Wow. All right. Well, we hear you
Yes,
fine. We hear you fine.
yes. Okay. So I'm starting from again for myself.
Mm.
Okay. Kiela said herself, evidently a lot on her mind. I find your response so interesting because it's something I'm currently cultivating in my own life. Though it's been hard for me to put into words, the idea I can let intuition guide me into whatever I'm supposed to be doing at that moment, whether it seems productive or not. There have been times where I felt I should have been doing something else, some household task or errands, but spontaneously decided to go to the bookstore instead. And while I was there, found some book that profoundly changed my life
Now look at this. Look at this
on
paragraph
many
in the
words.
context of certainty, right, Beena?
Yes, yes,
Uh,
yes.
uh, her certainty is a bit fragile, right? It's shaky.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm.
right. We can
Yes,
hear her certainty has been dented slightly, and this is the problem, that she's not comfortable with her certainty being dented, even though the consequences are positive. She's uncomfortable with it all because she's not aware that it is a discomfort with the certainty being tested, being shaken. Yeah.
yes. On many words, the printed book that held a surprisingly steady place of reverence, despite many predictions of its imminent demise. Wow.
Yes, yes, yes. This is just a little aside because Ayla mentions going to the bookstore, and it's in the future,
Yes.
and a lot of people sort of assume that books won't be around in the future. Well,
Mhm.
just go back to the start of the internet era, which now we've had a couple of decades of internet already. Books were predicted, 20 years ago completely that it would be dead. No, when Amazon, because Amazon started as a bookseller. People may forget that now. But they were for a long time, that's all they did was just sell books, right? And ebooks and all this. Now they sold physical books too. But because of Amazon and it became so huge selling books, people predicted that the physical bookstores would go out of business. That hasn't happened. Yeah.
And the synchronicity that you got your books today physically, and then she's talking about books.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh wait. 1 second. Wait 1 second. Wait 1 second. All right, I
Mhm.
sent it to Cheryl, and there we go. There we go. See, I sent the screenshot. So I just when I sent this share, I was just going to share it to Beena because I just wanted to show her what came in the box. I said, but then Norma's name was there too. All right, Norma, I'll send it to you. Oh, then other people's names were there, and I just sent to everybody. So this book has been around for a long time. This is all it's all about superiority paradigm, and then this is more on it, right? So this book really should be called "The Psychology of the Superiority Paradigm," but I changed it because these are keywords that people search for and all that. So the title is to get it out there a bit more. I mean, really, it should be the psychology of bullshit. That's really what it. But I can call it that, and I can sell it, but I cannot advertise it on Amazon with using the word bullshit or even BS. They won't allow you to use. It's odd, and you can call the book that, but you can't advertise it. It's something to do with the SEC and all of this, right? So look, it's book two of the realism series. There's the A plus logo, representing the A plus philosophy and awareness with the eye and all this, right? And there's a globe in the eye. You can't see it now, but that eye is a world globe. Yeah, I put a lot of work into that logo. It's pretty cool. And then the colors as well, all in the plus there, right? It's all the range of colors because you want to get out of that black white and see the colors. So there are more books coming. This my next project now is to publish more books. I've got them written. I just need to publish them. So very cool, very cool. But I just wanted to show that Beena was talking about, and the book, the physical books, right? Those are that's the box. There's more underneath. There's like I don't know, a dozen books in there or something. I just have some
Yes.
physical copies on it. I'm gonna send some to
Yes.
Beena. So if anybody wants one, let me know. I'll send it to you. All right.
Yes.
Keep going, please, please, wonderful Beena.
No, no, no,
Mm,
no, no. This one, yes. Okay. I can
yeah.
also say something similar happened when I heard your comments to Camillus and Ursula and decided to friend you. I have never friended a stranger, but for some reason, I felt like I needed to do that.
And this was
Then the
friending me
next,
on Facebook, right? When they're talking about
yes,
friends now. Yeah.
yes. Then the next day, there's that communication to Luminia at the original story, which happened to be about something. I had just been discussing with my husband. A few days prior, when I'd messaged him and which had been on my mind, it felt like a hint that that particular hurdle is the one I need to be looking at right now. That judging myself by my productivity. Biella's last sentence did not quite fit. Both Ursula and Biella refrained from asking for clarification.
Yeah,
The
yeah. Because
explanation
look, if you
seemed to
look at
be
the way she carries on, right? She says that judging myself for my productivity, and she leaves it open, and then she just carries on. I write fiction. Yeah, she just kind of leaves it hanging there, but it
yes,
makes sense for us. Yeah, yeah. And explanations seem to be forthcoming. Yeah,
yes,
Heila
yeah,
elaborated. I'll read a bit of the narrator.
okay,
Right, keep going.
okay. I write fiction, or rather, I try to write fiction. When I
Okay.
was younger, in my teens and early 20s, I wrote prolifically, but I didn't have the life experience to write that sort of literary material I wanted to write. I could be clever and witty, I could construct watertight plots, but there was something major missing. It didn't bother
Mm,
me because I always felt I was doing what I should be doing, pursuing what I should be pursuing, but and the universe would work things out in my favor eventually.
mm,
A sadness crept into Heila. Then followed a series of negative life events, years of depression and anxiety, and finally a settling in of the idea that time is passing so quickly that I don't have time to be wondering and finding myself like I did in my teens and early 20s. I realize I'm still young by most people's standards, but I can't shake that eternal feeling of is what I'm doing right this moment the best possible use of my time? Kiela's earnest sincerity, her plight of being, pulled at Biella. She noticed it pulled at Ursula. Good. The pull of the earnest being is a powerful and magical force. The problem
mm.
is, yeah,
I want to stop on that point, Beena.
yes,
That's a very, very deep thought there from Biella. The pull of the earnest being. Read it for me again, please.
yes. The pull of the earnest being is a powerful and magical force.
Now, do you see this in your own life? Your
Oh, yes.
earnestness. How powerful is that not, right? And look at
Oh,
Janet and Norma. Both are earnest beings. And look when they share things earnestly. Yeah,
oh,
look
yeah.
how it pulls on us, right? It has a profound effect on us. Yeah. So the pull of the earnest being is a truly powerful and magical force. Yeah. And be aware
Yes,
of this. Norma, you still here. Janet has left now. Be aware of that. Your earnestness is a very powerful force. It makes a difference. When you ask an earnest question, I saw this when I was a child, right? You see, like the mother in the kitchen, right? And she's busy working and doing whatever, um, and the kids come and yeah ma and blah ma ma she's like yeah whatever and just like kind of she'll answer them but basically her attitude is get lost I'm busy, right? But then
yes,
little Susie comes along and asks Ma an earnest question, and Susie doesn't even necessarily have to be Ma's child, can be anybody's child, it doesn't matter, right? But the moment that earnest question comes, Ma stops. Typically rub the hands on the apron, right? And turn to face Susie or Johnny. They stop. They stop, right? And then that hand wiping, I've seen that so many times. And they'll stop and kind of bend over, right? And then answer that question in the fullness that they possibly can, because the question was a truly earnest question. It stopped Ma. She didn't have time for any of her own children or whoever. It's like, come on, get lost, bugger off, annoying me and, bother us some here now. But the earnest question, this stopped Ma. Even though it would make dinner late or whatever, doesn't matter. it stopped Ma. It's a powerful and magical false earnestness, right? Be aware of it. Be aware of it. Because when you ask an earnest question, it's obvious you've thought this through for yourself. And you've been thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it some more. And you figured it out. You looked at it this way, you looked at it that way, but you stuck, right? And that is, we get leveraged. Inside us, something says, this I need to deal with, right? Because it's important. It's really, really, really important, right? And we do. We recognize this. The universe is the same way. You will get anomalies and force of circumstance to assist you when you get to that point where I've really done everything I can, I'm stuck. And then you put that earnest intent to get unstuck out into the universe and you get response, right? Anomalies, changes, stuff happens. Be aware of the power of the earnest being. Yes. Incredible.
Yes.
It's a huge deal. It's a huge, huge deal. Yes.
Yes.
Very, very powerful. Very powerful. All right, please continue.
The problem is, Heila continued, the kinds of things I tend to think I should be doing are the mundane tasks that really don't matter in the long run because they are never really done anyway, like housework, etc. At some point over the time, I have lost my ability to write. Every once in a while, I'll have a time or a day where I'm able to write like normal and the story flows out. But most days, it feels like trying to squeeze an elephant out of a needle hole.
Wonderful, wonderful.
My writing is stunned. No,
Stunted.
stunted. Okay. My writing is stunted and it sounds like it came from a young child. It's bizarre to me because there are those shining moments when I can write, when it comes out naturally like it used to. Then I go right back to not being able to find my words, so to speak. And
Certainty.
a
Certainty.
look of uncertainty
Should.
crossed Yellow's face. Yes, yes. I have said, uh, I've said, I honestly feel like a person who sustained brain damage. I thought for a long time maybe the years of depression and anxiety took an actual physical toll on my brain, the way it did on me, on my body. But then how to explain those random days when I can write normally? Honestly, I'm not
Let's jump
sure.
in here. Beena, Beena.
Yes, yes, yes.
Let's look at the depression and anxiety through the filter of certainty. That's
Oh,
exactly the problem. Is that you're certain about stuff and it's making you depressed. It's affecting your mood, your attitude, your mindset, your beliefs. A certainty that's not real. That's exactly what depression and anxiety is. A certainty that's you are so certain about stuff that it's actually affecting your moods, your emotions, your attitudes, your beliefs, your entirety of your being is being affected by these certainties. Yeah, is that incredible? Isn't that incredible? So Heila doesn't realize how much she is affected by the certainty mindset. And it's what affects her writing. She gets into I should write this way and that way, and she writes according to her beliefs of should, because she really studied writing like crazy, and then it comes out as rubbish. But on the days when she's able to set that aside, because her mind is starting to move from the certainty mindset into a different space, but she's not aware that she is moving, right? So it pulls her, and the old aspects come and they pull you back, and then the new brain comes and it's doing different, right? And that's the difference here. If she were to realize more about certainty and uncertainty, and this would change her in a big way, right? But you see how it manifests and materializes in depression and anxiety. It's all about you being certain about something that actually you cannot be certain about. You believe your certainty is true. It's a fact, but it's not. It's just a belief, right? Rather obviously.
Yes.
Yeah, especially when you're looking at it after the fact.
Yes.
If it actually was so, you'd still be depressed
Because
and anxious.
certainty is certainty is actually saying that, okay, this is the final thing, this is the end, there is no more. So it
Exactly.
cannot be
There's no hope.
worse. Like,
There's no hope. Right.
yes,
Depression and
yes,
anxiety is when you
there is no
believe
hope.
that it's negative, and then you give up, right? Or you worry that the negativity is going to
Yes,
come. Anxiety, depression is when you believe that the negativity is now. Anxiety is when you believe it's going to come, right? Even though you're not experiencing it now,
yes,
it's nothing to say, all right, tomorrow the world is going to end. Does that mean that I have to be unhappy now? No, I can enjoy now. Okay, tomorrow the world ends, and then, all right, it ends. But why waste the time being anxious about something you can't do anything about? Anxiety is absolutely completely square circle, kind of, it's craziness. It's a madness, really, right? When we understand it
hmm,
that way, and then we start to look at it, and what is madness but a certainty that the world works in a particular way? Yeah.
yes, yes. And
When that
also we
certainty is wrong.
also we are just seeing here right now the consequences of going out of attunement and
Yeah,
against the attunement, because attunement of your own creativity, when you can write,
yeah,
you can write so much, even if it will be like physically just a paper or
yeah,
a small poem or just a paragraph, but it will have so much more than you can do it, like throughout that time when you will not get inspired to write something which you will feel satisfied with. So this is something like, okay, it is just to understand the attunement also. What Heila is saying, sharing
Heila.
here. She's saying that Heila, okay, Heila
Mm,
is sharing that she was not following or not attuned with her own creativity. She was trying to
correct,
force that.
correct,
She was trying to do
correct.
that, which is like, okay, going against the
Yeah,
attunement.
yeah.
And then of course,
Uh,
whenever we
right,
get out of the
right,
attunement,
right, right,
this
right. Now,
it just ripped
yeah,
off the beauty. That's it.
yeah,
You can
yeah,
still get the
Bec-
work done,
yeah,
but you will not get
yeah,
beauty.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because
The harmony.
she's trying to write to formula. I mean, I know this from my deeper conversations. I don't know if it comes into the story at all, but that's really. And when you're trying to write to formula, you're writing according to how you should write, even though you're not writing like, formula writing is like when you're writing, like Mills and Boone love stories, that there's a very specific formula that you got to write it this way. I don't mean it in that way, but even she was trying to write literary fiction. In her mind, she had a should of how it should be, and that's going to conflict with actually being creative. Yeah, and you're actually creative, should goes out the window. Yeah. So there's a certainty. That's the issue. Should is all about certainty. Yes.
Yes.
That's why it's so
Yes.
corruptive, so subversive, because it's
Mhm.
taking your goodness and saying, this is a certain way that you must do it this way. It's a certainty when it's not. Yeah. Wow, very powerful. Very, very powerful. Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not sure what's going on, but I do know I feel like my spirit has been stopped up.
Stoppered.
Okay, sorry, stopped it up
Mm,
by the inability to express myself through my writing. It feels all wrapped up in that sense of time passing too quickly.
mm.
It feels like a spiritual battle of some kind. I read books and
That's very
art
powerful, right,
arts.
Beena? I mean, I really
Yes.
feel for Heila in this, that what she says here. Honestly, I'm not sure what's going on, but I do know I feel like my spirit has been stoppered up by the inability to express myself through my writing. It feels all wrapped up in that sense of time passing too quickly. It feels like a spiritual battle of some kind. It absolutely is. And it's the battle with certainty. It's entirely the issue with Heila here, right? Because her inability to express herself is because she's trying to express herself in a particular way, yeah, rather than just expressing whatever comes. she doesn't have confidence in her difference, in the unusual, in the odd, in the extreme, in the outrageous. Yeah. Very big deal. So yes, absolutely a very spiritual issue. Very big deal. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. It feels like a spiritual battle of some kind. I read books and articles that say things like, just plant your posterior
Uh-huh. Your backside. Yeah.
here and right.
Yeah. Well, normally they don't use that word or backside even, they use a word, but all right.
Just plant your posterior in a chair and right. Writer's blocks is just laziness, etc. And I'm sitting here like, clearly, you have not experienced what I'm experiencing. It's like I have this story to tell, and most days, no voice to tell it. Biella and
Mm,
Ursula both nodded in empathy.
mm.
Ursula took her cue from Biella, not allowing herself to slip into commiseration. Ursula had noticed during Biella's interaction with Camillus an incredible ability. The new nobles made a point to not, what is the pronunciation for that?
Tacitly, tacitly, tacitly.
Tacitly, okay, to not tacitly support any forms of self pity, especially those
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
potentially might arise via inappropriate empathy, a
Yeah.
sophisticated insight, one requiring the utmost of self control and awareness, a preemptive readiness required. Wow. To not automatically and inadvertently express emotional support for attitude and emotions they did not actually support, particularly for those which were actually untenable,
Mm-hmm. Untenable.
such
Yeah.
as self-pity. This is
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is this is
Uh,
the, I think that the life is skill one can have, because it
yes.
is a very big bold thing to do that, because of all the trainings from
Absolutely.
yes,
Absolutely.
culture, society,
Yes.
religion, your family,
Yes.
your personal
Yes.
culture, and also that the idea we get from the books
Yes.
also, like, okay, I'm sorry to
Yes.
say, a lot of big names and a lot of big things, big writers, classic
Yes.
literature
Yes.
keep telling us that we have to feel empathy towards that, we have to
And we
feel
have
all
to
these things.
commiserate. They don't say
Yes,
it
yes, we have
specifically,
to
but
do
they
that.
imply,
It's a
right? It's
lot,
implicitly.
it's a
Yeah.
lot of preaching. Yes, it's a lot of preaching about that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and I was there, of course, um,
Yeah.
big time there. And I
Yeah.
was feeling, I was
Yeah.
assuming that it was natural. That was the
Correct.
real big thing for me to
And should.
unclick that idea that this is natural to me. And I am
Yeah.
surprised now, still I feel surprised that how natural and innate it was to me. Till
Yeah. Yeah.
I got some insight from Way of Impeccability, and I start realizing that what actually I am benefiting to, like nothing. What
Yeah.
I'm doing, what is that person is getting on a longer run, and of course on the short term also. Sometimes short term, yes, they feel good and they get back on that. But even it is just a blink, and
Yeah.
then after that they are again getting deeper
Exactly.
into
You
that
do more harm
self-pity
than good.
hole.
Exactly.
Yes,
Exactly.
and that realization, it opens up a lot of doors for me. The first thing, that how natural and innate I was
Yeah.
feeling, quote unquote, uh, this expression, this emotion, and this emotional
Yeah.
conditioning to me. And the second thing, that my shirts, I was so much into habit of thinking on other people's behalf. First
Yeah.
thing, they shared something, I was like, okay, yes, if someone is saying something, or someone is doing something, or someone asking something, I must respond accordingly. That was the condition. First, I should not. Second, I was feeling it is natural. Like it is natural to everyone. It has to be natural to everyone. That was the shirt. And I was like, it was a bubble, and it popped up like a big, with a big burst. Like, yes,
Mhm.
pop.
Mhm.
No, no, it is not. And it stunned me, like literally, that okay, how wrong my perception was about that. And the third thing was what actually anyone getting out of it. Longer run, no one. Poor thing.
Exactly.
I'm just
Exactly.
address. I'm just sharing
Exactly.
few of the
Exactly.
posts.
Right. And this
Yes.
inappropriate empathy, it came into play with the employee that came and went, right? That we
Wow.
did not apply inappropriate empathy. We could easily
Yeah.
have, right? And help to foster self-pity and all that, but we didn't. Yes. And so
Yes.
this was not an environment which was suitable for that. Our interactions, our mini bubble that we operate from, that never got a chance to be expressed. Right? It never got a chance to even get a hold. There was no opportunity, no environment, no appropriateness to come with self-pity stuff. Right? Just was not part of the deal.
Yes. Yes. And
Yeah.
and the biggest door or the biggest secret reveal was again it was the ego behind that.
Oh
My
yeah.
assumptions that I can do something, I
Yeah,
must do
yeah.
something because I am in that position,
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
am this,
But you were
because I'm not. And it was
but you were
again,
open to being wrong about that.
yes, yes.
And so you
Now it's a
changed.
different deal. So
Yeah.
that idea was like, wow. And of course, it's not
Uh,
only about others. Then it comes back to me that how many times
yeah,
in
yeah,
how many aspects of my life I was into that self-pity.
yeah,
I'm like, wow. Okay, so
yeah,
now it all popped up. So now I can see, okay, much better
yeah,
with much clarity now. So then, okay, yes, move on. And that was the real help. I know, and I have seen many people. Um, it's not a big experience of my life, but I have seen many people
yeah,
dealing with these type of situation where they want and they insist on just getting the pity and sympathy from other people. And when
yeah,
Syl, especially when he tries to share that okay, this is something that cannot be done like this, it is not going to help them. And when he really try to share the real help, which of course coming from them, most people, yes, they say, oh yes, it's wonderful, but they actually they never get back to it because
yeah,
their ego feel hurt. Like they assume that this person is not understanding what he needs to understand, and he needs to be there for me, which is of course not a help, not a help at all. A person who is shedding tears and getting like completely like okay in agreement with everything, and of course and not encouraging you to get out of it by yourself, is not a real help at all. But we
mm,
are so
mm,
accustomed,
mm,
so attuned, and so conditioned to get this type of help and feel satisfied with. I was there
yeah.
and I can share my experience.
So wonderful, Beena. So wonderful. And all of this openness to being wrong. Yeah. It's so
Exactly.
critical,
I was
such a
wrong.
critical skill.
I
But I
was
want to
wrong.
read this again here. I want to read this again.
Okay.
The new nobles
Okay.
made a point, because I edited it, yes. Yeah, I added in this or implicitly. The new nobles made a
Mhm.
point to not tacitly or implicitly support any forms of self-pity or similar, especially
Mhm.
those which potentially might arise via inappropriate empathy, a
Yes.
sophisticated insight, one requiring the utmost of self-control and awareness, because we have this innate natural tendency to empathize and
Yes.
sympathize, not empathize, to
Yes.
sympathize with people. We
Yes.
taught to sympathize, we taught to feel what they feel. But if you
Yes.
feel self pity and self blame and all of this stuff, and I feel what you feel, I'm commiserating, in other words, and saying, "Oh, you poor baby," and sorry this happened to you. I'm now legitimizing and condoning your self pity and self blame and whatever else is going on. That's not helpful. It's not helpful in
No.
the least. It's most unhelpful. It's disastrously unhelpful. But it requires the utmost of self-control and awareness to go against your natural, it's not really natural, it's what we've been taught to do, but to go against your natural instincts. Yes, instincts, like I was telling you the other day, that you're very careful with instincts. Instincts are typically what's wrong, not what's right. They instincts are limited awareness that's become entrenched, to such a degree that we do it automatically. Now, of course, instincts are very contextually usual, contextually appropriate. If the context is different, you do the thing that your instinct prompts you to do, and it's completely wrong, right? And so instincts can be quite disastrous. And instincts is the very thing that prevents us from being more aware. Right? The more instinctual an animal or an insect or something is, the less aware they are. Right? You can see the scale, the very direct scale. Right? When instinct and our instinct can be very problematic when, like I said, the circumstances, the context changes. Yeah? Very, very
Yes.
powerful. Very, very powerful.
Yes. Yes.
So this
Still,
a
it's late
simplistic.
now.
Oh,
We can
yeah.
leave it here.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to get to the end of this, and then this is Ursula thinking this, right? So I just want to get to the end of this, right? A sophisticated insight, one requiring the utmost of self-control and awareness, a preemptive readiness required. Preemptive. You have to be on the alert to not do this, and hold that thought in your mind when somebody starts to share, right? So you need to be preemptively ready, because if you get sucked into their story, you're going to get sucked into this inappropriate empathy, right? Uh, Particularly, right, a preemptive readiness required to not automatically and inadvertently express emotional support for attitudes and emotions that they did not actually support. It's saying the same thing in a different way, right? Multiple perspectives. It's that philosophy being applied. Particularly for those which were actually untenable, such as self-pity. All too easy to prompt a speaker into a particular emotional direction that is criminal, right? This the new nobles hold in acute awareness. Ursula had noticed Biella's extreme care in how she applied her emotional reactions. This is a profound responsibility of awareness. Once you're aware that your emotional reactions actually can change the course of events, change the course of the flow of things, change the way the psychology works or relates, and it can get inappropriate condoning and affirmation and justification. It's a profound responsibility now that you have with what you do with your emotional reactions, right? And so this, the new nobles hold this in acute awareness. Ursula had noticed Biella's extreme care in how she applied her emotional reactions, how she never had any internal approval or disapproval, both together, right? Because either way, you can shape the course of a conversation through this. And when you are applying capital H hearing, you cannot do that. You cannot shape the conversation. You just have to let it come of its own accord, any shaping, and you distort the story, right? You're not getting the actual story. How she never had any internal approval or disapproval. She'd noticed Biella make inordinate efforts to counteract the assumptions from Camillus of approval or disapproval by her. He just assumed she was when she wasn't. Despite her best efforts, it seemed Camillus was simply not ready to believe. He's too much certainty, right? Someone could have those as an internal mechanism, this ability to withhold and be absolutely neutral, to be an unbiased witness. He couldn't believe it. He was too certain that Biella is a biased witness. He just assumes everybody's a biased witness in some way. Not biased in the normal sense of, prejudice bias, but biased towards positivity, maybe, yeah, or nobleness. But she's not, right? He just was not ready to believe this because of these certainties. These psychologies too integral in his world and his way of being. He's locked into certainty. All right. So yeah, Ursula pulled away from her thoughts, returning to Heila. Anyway, so now we get back to Heila. I just wanted to have this little interlude here of Ursula's reflection and thinking about things, right? Yeah, we love Ursula. So this is now Ursula really thinking deep thoughts here. And again, she's doing a takeaway and a repeat back all together at the same time, right? Because the situation prompted it. And so she's practicing to her understanding to make this into herself, right? To really take this deeply into herself. That's what she's busy doing, right? She's thinking it through all the way. Very, very cool. Very, very powerful. All right. So yeah, we'll end there. This is just too wonderful. Absolutely cool. I love this. I love this. Go Ursula. Go Ursula. All right. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Janet's left. Norma, any comments, Norma, before we go? Oh, Norma said in Messenger she'll watch later, so she's not here. Oh, she's lost the picture. Yeah, I think you maybe lost the picture because I did screen sharing. But all right, no problem, Mom. No problem. Yeah, so she's not there either. All right, too wonderful. Any comments? Any comments, Beena? Yeah,
Well, this is very interesting, and of course, it brings a lot of moreness. For
yeah,
me, I share. It is not something I need to share, but I share because I just want to emphasize the value I get every single time
yeah,
from any sharing. Of course, coming yes,
yeah,
mostly because of Way-of-Impeccability, but it's not limited to Way-of-Impeccability. Mainly my experience with awareness, deliberate awareness, is of course from Way-of-Impeccability. That's why I mentioned that. But other than that, also I feel that okay, if we keep repeating, as we keep repeating our sorrows and lackness in life and our negative experiences, like okay, this is going down the hill, this is going like bad, and this is all those things, and we get the negative feeling again and again. Exactly same if we just keep doing, repeating the positive things in our life, we get so much value out of it. I do get so much more value out of it with every
yes,
single sharing. So it's not for anyone,
yes.
it is just for myself. Very selfish business here again. Okay, thank you
Always,
so much. Yes,
always,
always.
always.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for being here. Norma, Janet.
Yes,
It was so
yes,
lovely to see you, Janet, again. And yes, and of
oh,
course, Donna indirectly, and
yeah,
Cheryl indirectly, and whoever is going
yes,
to. Thank you, Syl. Thank you so
yes,
much, and thank you,
yes.
Brain. We will see you tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow. Yes, I love it. I love it. All right. Bye bye, everybody. Bye bye. Bye bye. All right. See you soon, Beena. See you soon. Bye bye. End meeting. End meeting 4.